So what's going on, guys? What are we talking about?
Tom, before we get started, just real quick, I know you did a podcast with us before. Brian's the producer. I'm a comic out of Philly.
I'm getting a little drowsy. What?
And, no, before we start, Dom. And then,
we're rolling.
No, you didn't do the intro yet.
Yo,
Dom, over here.
Hey,
Dom, hey.
Yo, Dom.
All right, Tom Dreesen, welcome. Welcome to Yo Dom. How are you?
What a great comedian he is. With years of polish, you should see his act. Bada boom, bada bing. This guy's good. All over the world. Look at him now. Oh, there he is. He fell asleep.
Did I put headphones on, you guys?
If you want to, Tom, yeah, go ahead.
I mean,
see that he shouldn't have to do it.
You sound good. Yeah, you sound good and you look good. Yeah, you're good.
Okay.
Ah.
Because you guys all have headphones on, so I thought I should do it. Okay. Anyhow, I'm thrilled to be back with you guys, Steve and Brian, because we did do a podcast before. And I do remember, Steve, you're a comic from South Philly. And I do remember we talked about my being in South Philly when I was in the service and how much I'm a big fan of South Philadelphia people, including Dom Irrera.
There you go, Dom.
They are a different. They're a cult. We're talking about the Mummers Parade. Imagine that your son ends up getting hurt at the Mummers Parade.
Oh yeah.
Did you spend enough time there to know what the Mummers are, Tom?
Yeah.
Oh,
sure.
Okay.
I was there before you guys were born. You know, I was stationed in South Philly when I was in the Navy. I was on an aircraft carrier. We had just got back from overseas.
And then you get Delaware River.
Yeah. And anyhow, we put the ship out. I put the ship out of commission there, but at that time I hung around a place called Broad and Porter, a Sharky's bar in South Philly. You know,
I think Sharky's is still around.
I don't know, but then years later, now at that time, believe it or not, I had coal black hair, and kids in the South Philly neighborhood used to say to me, "Hey, are you related to Frankie Avalon?" Because I looked a lot like Frankie Avalon in those days, and I used to say, "Yeah, he's my cousin," you know, but now. Fast forward, years go by, and Frankie and I became the best of friends. We toured together. We were under contract at the Claridge Hotel in Atlantic City together, and so I would go back to South Philly with him, and to walk through those neighborhoods in South Philadelphia with Frankie Avalon. It was like I was walking with the second coming of Jesus. You know.
Oh yeah.
All the people in those row houses were like, "Hey, Frankie," and they'd come and bring him into the house, and you know, and try to make pasta fagioli and stuff with him to eat. It was great.
I liked Annette Funicello with those big hooters, you know, right? I always wondered her.
Is she still alive?
Oh, she passed away.
Oh, she passed away.
She had multiple sclerosis, like my sister had the same.
Wow.
And yeah, I knew Annette too. She was a great gal. She was a real good girl. I used to work. They're called Palombos. You guys, Dom would probably know that, but Palombos.
Yeah, no, I've had dinner there. But that's all I remember. I was a lifeguard about a block away from there. Lifeguard in South Philly. Hilarious.
What were you? Was it a puddle? Like what were you? They had the fire hydrant and they had to hire a lifeguard.
They would like drug other kids and see if we could swim. They're crazy. I mean, one time they took a pole, put one of the kids' ass. You know, his family was very upset by that. Can you blame him? Cut that whole last 3.
Do you ever have to go in and save somebody, Dom, when you were doing that? Like jump in the water, pull the kid out?
You stick the big thing on and pull them in.
Throw the lifesaver and then just
I go in for. You know that place, Steve? You know that place? Where I can't remember. It was a 19
community pool.
18th and Johnson.
No, this is right by the church at St. Paul's.
No,
because there was an Irrera's bakery there.
Maybe 4th Street. There's a pool on 4th Street, but I don't know. It's near a school. But I was on a different side of Broad. I was like near the
hoity-toity side.
No, I was near like Cash's Bakery. I grew up near New York Bakery, Epiphany Church.
So that's how you picked up all your weight, huh?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I eat too much.
Come on.
Keep taking shots. I know I'm getting heavy. I got married.
I love this guy.
You know. So Tom, how did you and Dom meet?
Over jealousy.
It was at a massage parlor, and he was in front of me in line, and I wanted.
Was it in Philly? I got to write down the address.
No, you know what? I saw Dom on TV before I met him, and liked him instantly. It's stuff.
What's not to like?
That's right. I mean, I love this material. Then I met him. We did a baseball show with Bob Uecker.
Yeah, I remember that.
In Arizona, I think it was. And Dom and I were both doing stand up on the show, and we became friends. I have to tell you, guys, I've been out here for over 45 years. I'm a street kid from the south side of Chicago. I never really identified with Hollywood kind of people, even though I toured later with Sinatra and Sammy. I mean, but I didn't connect with Hollywood people, with the people who did one appearance on a sitcom and then they wanted a limousine to drive them around town all day long. I always connected with neighborhood kind of people. My dearest friends in this business, I mean, guys like Dennis Farina, who's from Chicago, Joe Pesci from New Jersey, Joe Mantegna's from Chicago, Gary Sinise from Chicago, Dennis Franz from Chicago, James Darren, Philly, Frankie Avalon, Bobby Rydell.
Santa Claus from Philadelphia.
But I connected with
that was the real Santa Claus, by the way.
However, I connected with those kind of people, and that's why I connected with Dom, because I'm from a neighborhood. I'm a neighborhood guy. Yeah. And so they spoke my language, and I bonded with them easier than with people who never worked a day in their life and had a silver spoon stuck in their rear end for most of their life. What kind of
guy? Chili, is that his name?
Chili Rizzo?
Chili, like a little bouncer type?
Frank Sinatra's bodyguard?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Chili Rizzo, yeah.
He was a character.
Yeah. He liked you too, Dom. He liked you a lot.
That was fun that weekend. I was up there. I didn't get on the big show, but I loved meeting Sammy Davis Jr. and I didn't want to meet Sinatra. I just wanted to watch him do rehearsal. I thought that was cool. I didn't want to go up to him because what do you say? How you doing? I like your work. It doesn't work. He's too big.
Well, a lot of people who were big fans of Frank Sinatra, really big fans, friends of mine, and I'd say, do you want me to introduce you? And they say, no, I don't want to meet him. I love him. I got him in a place in my mind that I don't want to meet him maybe on a bad day and maybe he'd say something, or something
they didn't want to ruin it.
Yeah, they had him in this.
Well, didn't he have a reputation? Like it was out there that he had a temper? He had a temper, right? It was known.
Hey, Steve, you're an Italian. You asked me if another Italian had a temper.
Well, I don't know if that was something at that time people knew about. Now it's out there in books and everything.
No, but I mean, we're Italian.
I'm sure everybody knew, man. Yeah, everyone had to have known.
He could go up. First of all, he was kind of bipolar, and later on in life, I'm not telling stories out of school. Later on in life, that came out that he had swing moods sometimes, and also he liked Jack Daniels. When I was a bartender, I noticed my buddies' moods changing as they drank. I used to call it 3 hours. I'd watch my buddies. Some guys, 2 beers, and they'd become Rocky Marciano. They want to fight everybody in the place.
Yeah, some guys are like that.
Other guys, 2 beers, they become Rudolph Valentino. They wanted to fuck every broad in the place. 2 beers, or they become Rip Van Winkle. It just make them go to sleep. Alcohol affects everybody differently. Yep. Frank was the Rocky Marciano after a couple of drinks,
I love dancing. I dance every day and then down the street.
Alcohol would make you dance, Tom.
I hate dancing. No. I hate weddings and the big fat girls trying to pull you out to the middle of the floor. I don't want to be seen with you, but I hate it. I hate weddings. I don't mean to be with milk. And I ain't coming to you. Then I got to worry about getting you a prize or some shit. I'll buy you.
See, I did you a favor, Tom. Yeah, it's a favor.
Yeah, Brian's getting married in September, Tom.
Hey, what day in September, Brian?
The 3rd.
It's a woman, right?
Yeah, it is.
This time,
yeah. The 3rd, September 3rd.
Oh, that's great. In Philadelphia?
In Jersey, Summers Point, down the shore.
Oh, I love it down there.
Yeah, Brian's family has a little bit of money. He's getting married on the beach.
Oh.
Real nice.
Not getting married on the beach.
A
At a golf course, actually. It's at a country club.
Ooh, yeah.
Tom's
Right.
a great golfer.
Is it old
You
traditional?
can invite him to the thing. He'll just send you a present.
Mine is old traditional where now is the girl's father is going to pay for the whole wedding?
No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's definitely not. Yeah, it's definitely not. I've been working my ass off. She has too. You know, it's not like that. You know, yeah. It's just expensive these days. You know, a wedding's not 10 grand like it used to be. You know.
Hey, I got 2 daughters. Those traditions are gone, and one of them married twice. I wish about those traditions were back when I had to pay for dole out everything.
Tom, I just had a daughter, and that's all I can think about is how I'm going to pay for her wedding with 20 years. That's all I think about.
Yeah,
dude, it'll be like $200,000 for her to get married by the time.
Thanks.
If anybody's listening to this show, please help a kid out.
What would you? I mean, whoever came up with that tradition, I wonder where that origin of that is. That the father of the bride has to pay for it.
That's like I thought that was an Italian thing, but it's
no. It's
I gave her dad 2 camels though in order to get her.
You married an Arab girl?
Yeah, no. She's Irish. They just wanted the camels.
Oh, so you give that 2 6-packs.
Yeah.
She native Irish or is she?
She's not. No. She was born here, but her parents are Irish German background.
That's my heft. I'm Irish. My mom was full-blooded Irish. My father was full-blooded Sicilian, Irish Italian. I always used to say to the audience, I'm an Irish Italian, which only makes you a mean drunk is all it makes you,
Were you guys with the same class of comics out in LA?
No, Dom, way older than Dom. Dom was a different, he's totally different, probably 20 years younger.
I mean, I look good.
My class, I came, I'd say my class. When I started out at the Comedy Store, I was with a comedy team for 6 years that broke up, as you guys know.
Mm-hmm.
And I were America's first black and white comedy team. And history shows we were the last. But after that team broke up after 6 years, I went on the West Coast and I was going on stage every night at the Comedy Store with these new comedians, David Letterman, Jay Leno, Robin Williams, Gallagher, Michael Keaton, Elaine Boozler. They were all in my class, my group, Dom probably came. Dom, who was it like in a group with you when you started out?
Well, it wasn't comedians, it's clowns. I always like clowning, and I'm trying to think. There were no really good comedians in my group.
No,
I was by far the best comedian. No, but the same guys. And you know what else I like about me, if you don't mind me saying?
Humility.
We had Seinfeld, and
Jerry was around the same time as you, right?
yeah, he was like 6 months before me.
Oh, all right.
And then he had the baby. But Seinfeld, Reiser, Larry David. Maybe he kind of age-wise, he's about the same. I don't know.
I was in New York working at the Radio City Music Hall with Sammy Davis Jr. And I always want to go to the Catch a Rising Star and Improv when I came off stage for the late shows to see who the new comics were. And everybody was talking about a Belzer and so forth and so on at that time. But I go over to the Improv one night and this new kid, Larry David, gets on stage and I'm in the wings watching him. And he was very funny. When he came off, I said to him, and you got to watch my face. I said, geez, I really enjoyed your set. That was really funny. He goes like this. He goes, and he walked away. That was Improv. Next night I come off and I go over to Catch a Rising Star to see who's over there. And lo and behold, Larry David is on stage again. And I watch him and he does a totally different 20 minutes. And I'm watching, it's funny. And so he came off and again, I said, geez, I really enjoyed your set. I saw you last night at the Improv and I really enjoyed your set. He went, and he walked away. I said, oh, yeah. Next day, honest to God, I'm coming out of the stage door deli. I go around the corner left and I run right in Larry David. Now we're like in front of each other. And I said, hey, I just want to tell you, I saw you 2 nights in a row, 2 different places, 2 different sets. It was really good stuff. He said to me, this was the first time he spoke to me, he said, what's with all this nice guy shit?
Jeez.
I said,
She used to have somebody standing under the light because he would go off stage like in 2 minutes or 30 minutes. You didn't know when he was going to go. If he get pissed off, what is that? Dust on the piano? I'm out of here. Fuck this. There you go.
He was that way as he was developing. Like,
but I've known him for years now. We see each other, and he always makes me tell that story. But that's see, I'm from Chicago. Chicago comics always complimented. We were really supportive. I have to say that we try to support one another and all that stuff. New York comics. When I'd go to New York comics was like. That's why he's saying to me, "What's all this nice guy shit?" New York comics when you came up.
Didn't understand.
Yeah, it was just a different, totally different thing. And look at Larry. Look how fucking big he is. Oh man, did he was the real brains behind the Seinfeld show. I'm sure you guys know that.
It was the combination. I remember being over at Jerry's house for Super Bowl, and they're writing the script on the Domino's Pizza box. You know, I'm looking at this, and then I'm thinking, I don't know if that was the exact thing that started, but they were all over the place. You know, I thought it was so clever to get a miserable guy like Larry, bitter, to Jerry as, you know, hey, what's with these flowers? Yeah.
It's still a great show. I mean, it's one of my favorite shows of all time. I would say it is my favorite show of all time.
I like Curb better, like his newer stuff. Curb.
It gets sad though. You watch Curb and it's just Larry David like eating shit
it
really
shows how selfish he is. Nuts. Richard Lewis is funny on that.
He is, yeah, he is very funny on that.
Larry, you know, Danny Thomas. Many years ago, I met Danny Thomas, and he not only was on a sitcom, he produced them. He said to me, Tom, if you're going to write a sitcom, show me a man in trouble, and I'll show you a funny man. And he said, show me a man in trouble, I'll show you a funny man. Lucille Ball and her show, at the beginning of the show, she started getting into a little bit of trouble. By the end of the show, it was madness. One of my favorite sitcoms of all time was Fawlty Towers from John Cleese.
That was great.
They only did 13 episodes. But Basil Fawlty was owner of a little bed and breakfast and his wife, and he had this cast of, you know, people, waiters and waitresses. But Basil Fawlty, John Cleese's character, would start getting in trouble a little bit at the beginning of the show. By the end of the show, the place was in utter chaos. And that it's this great rule for, you know, and Larry David is in trouble on the show all the time. Show me a man in trouble, I'll show you a funny man. You know?
I love when he put the stripper in his car so he could go in the fast lane.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah. Not the stripper, the dummy, right? With a mannequin.
Or was it a?
No, it was a real a hooker. That's what made it so funny. Yeah.
And he gets it right. You get the black guy on the show and all that. I mean, he gets just the right kind of conflict. There's always a conflict going on there, you know, an antagonist and a protagonist.
Well,
and that character, I think it's JB Smooth. Is that his name?
The black guy. Yeah,
he's a Philly stand-up. He started at the Laugh House.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah, I thought I seen him around.
Yeah, he was a Philly stand-up for a really long time.
Mm.
You know, speaking of black comedians who were on Seinfeld who were great, the guy who did the lawyer for O.J. Simpson.
Jackie, he played Jackie Giles.
Oh, yeah. Fuck! That's such a great character.
I don't remember.
Phil Morris.
I don't remember that scene.
The actor. He was a reoccurring character, Jackie Giles, and he was like supposed to be like OJ's lawyer. But he was Kramer's lawyer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Phil Morris is his name, Dom. Phil Morris.
Yeah, I do the.
Johnny Cochran.
Hey Arnold.
Yeah. We
did Hey Arnold together a couple of times. Remember Hey Arnold?
The cartoon, yeah.
Yeah, I watched that all growing up, Dom. That was like my generation that show was really big, and me and my brother loved that show.
You ever see that, Tom?
Pardon me?
You ever see that, Tom?
Hey Arnold?
No.
It was a cartoon on Nickelodeon in the mid 90s. Probably ran from like 94, 95, 96, something like that to like 2000 something.
Yeah.
Early 2000s. It was a good show.
I love doing that. I love doing what. Did you ever do the cartoons? I keep thinking he's over here. Like
I'm behind. Look behind you. I'm right behind you. I never did voiceovers, and an agent in Chicago who always wanted me to do voiceovers, but I was so much in the stand-up.
You guys both opened for musicians, and I'm curious. Like,
and they both had.
Well, I mean,
Oscars.
You opened for Cher. Tom, you opened for Sinatra. As a stand-up, did you guys have to like tone it down sometimes? Did you find like it was a different approach?
She was more worried about her eyebrows. You know, she really didn't give a fuck. One night she did hear a joke that she didn't like. I understand. You never want to go to a porno movie with your girlfriend, and the worst thing you want to hear is, "Now that's a cock." You know, and she didn't. She had a right. I took it out. You know, she was so good to me.
When I started was different in Dom's because cable television had come along. When I started, there was no cable television. You could not get on national television if you said "go to hell." You couldn't say "damn."
Right.
It would take that out. There was ABC, NBC, CBS, and in order to make it, you had to get on the Tonight Show. And so, if you'd watch the other comedians on the Tonight Show, you'd say, "What do they do?" Oh, they had to write material that could make grandma and grandpa, mom and dad, and the kids laugh. So you had to write that kind of material.
That's really hard.
Consequently, when I did the Tonight Show, all of a sudden, Sammy Davis took me on the road, but I was opening for, and they all wanted a clean comedian. I was opening for Sammy Davis Jr., Tony Orlando and Don, Mac Davis, Gladys Knight and the Pips, Natalie Cole, James Darren from Philly, Frankie Avalon. I was opening for all these different artists, and they all wanted a Smokey Robinson. They had family audiences. So you could go out there and like that's a great joke that he said, that Dom just said. Now, I'm a street guy. I know every dirty joke there ever was, and I can write them all day long. I can do a stag roast with the best of them. I know how to write stuff like that, but I couldn't make any money doing that.
Right.
Who was I? Remember we were roasting somebody in Vegas, and the guy, her husband came up and got on stage. Maybe he wanted to punch me.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Sure. I remember exactly. I was the master of ceremonies.
I didn't know you had to be clean. Nobody told me that. It was a roast. I've been doing a roast. And I'm doing like Mike Ditka and I, he's grabbing my balls. Why are you doing that? Is that bad, Mr. Ditka? All this shit.
That wasn't it. You know what happened? Ann Jillian's husband's a former Chicago cop, and he's a real mean guy. And Dom, I'm the master of ceremonies. I started the roast, and then Ann, she was on the dais. She's not a comedian. She's a wonderful actress and a wonderful girl. And my manager used to manage her as well. So Ann gets up and she sings a song about
that's the real roast, yeah.
About Mike Ditka. So she sings
love.
It was the roast of Mike Ditka. That's what it was. It was Ditka's roast.
Yeah.
Kind of like a funny thing about Mike Ditka. Now Dom gets up afterward. I introduced Dom. He gets up, and this is
God.
He basically Dom said, "Anyhow, I'm happy. Thanks, Tommy. Thanks, and it's nice to be Mike." And he looks at Ann Jillian and said, "Ann, what the fuck was that all about?"
Oh yeah.
Dom,
was she crying?
No, Dom. She laughed. Dom continues.
Oh, good.
Now her husband comes up on the dais and grabs her and takes her off the dais, and he said something to Dom like "and fuck you" or something like that. But he goes up, and Dom says to me, Dom thinks this is part of the roast. He thinks
I thought it was a joke, or I would have ran like a little bitch.
Yeah, he looks at me like, "Hey, Tommy, what the fuck you doing to me?" Like I put this. I don't, now.
Well, Butkus was the guy that came and saved me.
That's right.
Butkus, you ever hear him?
Yeah, of course. Of course. Yeah.
I don't know. That was pretty cool. Look who's saving me, Dick Butkus. Fucking A.
Came up on the dais, and he let it be known that don't be starting any shit here. Don't make me have to deal with this. But that was.
Did the show go on? Like,
yeah,
did you?
It was a live roast. It wasn't a TV show. It was a live roast in Vegas. That the casinos, a lot of times, what they'd do to bring in high rollers, they'd roast a celebrity or somebody, and then and all their fans and friends.
Right.
It'd be a night for the high rollers, you know.
Wow. That's
It's
hysterical.
We roasted Jim McMahon one time in Tahoe at Caesars in Lake Tahoe. We were roasting. We were roasting Jim McMahon on the dais.
He was crazy. Sorry,
Dominic's friend Bruce Willis, and it was John Madden, and it was I got to think of all the celebrities I had there, but I was in charge of it, and they kept saying to me, "You got to work clean because there's going to be women in the audience." So we're going to roast Jim McMahon, and there's got to be women in the audience. Now, God, what was the other guy's name? Lyle Alzado. Lyle Alzado was roast, and Boom Boom Mancini. But everybody, we're all supposed to work clean, but then all of a sudden, we were told it was all guys. That's what it was. So everybody prepared blue material for all guys. Well, then there were women in the audience. So we're having dinner, and they had a big picture of Jim McMahon behind us, make that 40 by 40 behind us. And so the guys on the dais, it was all guys. They were saying, "Hey, Tom, there's women in here. I got all these blue jokes." So I kept making an announcement. Dinner's going to be over. We're going to start the roast, and it's for guys only. It's going to be a kind of a rough roast, ladies. So you can retire to the casino, and we'll meet you out there. No women left. No women. And I kept saying, and they said, "Tom," I kept saying, "Folks, it's going to get pretty rowdy here now. We're going to get language we have never heard before. And ladies, we'd appreciate it." Not one woman left. They were saying up yours. And anyhow, all the dirty joke, every dirty joke. First of all, Lyle Alzado gets up before he said, "We got to get him out of here." He grabbed the fifth of whiskey, and he said, "We're going to roast this motherfucker." And he throws this bottle of whiskey at Jim McMahon's face. Smash the whiskey smash. Not one woman left. So now they said, "Okay." So now they're working as blue as they can. Bruce Willis gets up and he's doing some joke, and some woman hollers, "Stop that. I mean, I'm on a hair," or something like that. He said, "Hey, lady, don't interrupt me. I don't come where you work and knock the dick out of your mouth." Now the room, I tell you, when they finished that roast, I had to go take a shower.
Yeah.
It was the filthiest, and women wouldn't leave. And later I'm at the blackjack table, and some guy says to me, "Hey, Tom Dreesen, I seen you on the Tonight Show and everything. I brought my mom to that thing. And I said, "How many fucking times did we have to tell you this was going to be a rowdy?" Right. When did you get the message? Was it when Lyle Alzado threw the whiskey at the thing? When did you finally get the message? When Bruce said he was going to knock the dick out of that woman's mouth? And
So do you enjoy? You rather work clean? You'd rather work clean?
It's the hardest art form to do that. But I did 61 appearances on it.
61. That's unbelievable.
We had to do a new 5 minutes.
They cut me in half of one. That'll be a show for. I can't believe. I don't know how you could write that. There's not that much funny in the world.
You did a different set every time?
You had to, and you couldn't do two guys going to bar jokes. Johnny wanted original monologues, so you had to keep coming up with. I used to take my tape recorder from the old days. I still have it. I used to take my tape recorder to the.
It looks like a lunchbox.
Yeah, it does. But when I started out, everybody had one of these. Everybody went. You never saw a comedian without a tape recorder.
Dom Irrera, you had one of those.
I'll bet you, Dom, you must have had one of these, right, Dom? When you went on stage and tape your material, cassette tape.
No, I didn't do that.
Oh,
you never taped your sets, Dom?
I taped the bill, then I realized I'm not listening to them anyway. What the fuck's taping them for? If I die, I hand it to him.
Every old school picture I see of Dom at the store, like working out, he always had a copybook in his hand.
Yeah, the copybook I had.
Oh,
always.
Yeah, you did a book. Yeah,
I did it. It was Aunt Julian. Was she the one that was in both roasts? Did she go out with Burt Reynolds?
Oh no.
That was somebody else.
Yeah, Burt dated Dinah Shore for a little while, but he dated Lonnie Anderson. That's it. He married Lonnie.
Well, we were on me, Bill Maher, and who's the big guy from Everybody Loves Raymond?
Brad Garrett.
Garrett. And we're like the young guys, and he gets up. Burt Reynolds, he's like he was good. He was dirty, and he said something about his hair. So Brad comes up after him, and he wanted to fight him, right? But Burt Reynolds was, come on, you want to fucking want a piece of this? Now it's really joyful, right? And Brad, what's his name? Brad Garrett.
Brad Garrett.
Brad goes, he wanted to fight him. He goes, what should I do? I said, don't fucking move. Just stay here. Then it ended up, that was really uncomfortable. Because I guess Burt Reynolds is a tough guy, and this guy's 6'9". I don't know.
I feel like Burt Reynolds isn't a guy you want to get in a fight with.
Yeah, but if they were roasting Burt Reynolds and he didn't know someone was going to do a joke about his toupee, what the fuck you coming there for?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
What was Brad Garrett a fighter?
No.
Evidently.
Nah.
He's Jewish. He don't fight, he buys.
Yeah, Burt wanted to fight. Brad wrote him a check. One time in the years I toured with Frank Sinatra, they would give me my schedule from January to June, and I would approve. Okay, I'll take these dates, and then from June, in June they'd give me the 6 months to December. And one time I got the 6 months gig, and one of them was New Year's, the day after Christmas to New Year's Day evening. At the MGM Grand with Frank. And I said, I there's one day in there, I'm contracted to do a show with Glenn Campbell in Tahoe for New Year's Eve. So if you want to get a comic for the whole week. And the office said, don't worry, you worked all whole week. We'll get a sub for that one night. And they got Brad Garrett. Now, I just assumed Frank knew it. I just assumed it. So we worked.
You guys know what happened?
I heard the story
I can hear it not going well. I can already see where it's going.
I've heard this.
What happened was I go to Lake Tahoe.
Oh.
And I'm going to come back the next night. I thought everybody knew that. Frank always paced behind the curtain when I was on stage. But Frank is getting ready to go on, and he hears a different voice. And he looked at Elliot Weissman, and he looked at Julie Rizzo, that was Frank's manager and Frank's bodyguard. He said, "Who's that?" They said, "That's Brad Garrett." And Frank said, this is what the road manager told me the next day. Frank said, well, where's Tommy? He thought I got sick. They said, Tommy had a gig in Tahoe. And this is Frank's line. He said, this ain't a fucking gig.
I'm not a big enough act.
He said, Tommy had a gig. He said, this ain't a fucking gig. Now, later, in retrospect, that's funny, but he was fucking livid. And of course, Brad is leaving or something. And he says something like, thanks for coming. Stick around for Frank's.
Yeah, I love that sign.
Stick around, Frank. Frank goes, boy. Now the next day I come back and the road manager said, Tommy, holy shit. Frank, I never had in the 14 years I toured with Frank, 45, 50 cities a year, staying in his home. He never got mad at me. I always made up my mind. I saw him go off on other people. And I thought, if he ever does that to me, I'm gonna thank him. I'm gonna say, Frank, if ever he went off on me like that, I must shake his hand and say, Frank, it's been great with you. Thank you for everything. And I was going to walk because I ain't going to be his whipping boy or anybody's whipping boy, even though I love the guy. I mean, I really did. But knock on wood, he never, ever, when I went up to him that day, I went up to his suite, and I said, Frank, I told the office, everybody knew. He said, well, evidently, Julie wanted to get Brad Garrett in there anyhow, and so they just didn't tell Frank. They thought they'd surprise him or something, But the next day, Frank said, don't worry about it, Tommy. Don't worry about it. I said, well, I thought everybody knew. So, but I never had a, knock on wood, I never had a bet. And I saw him sometimes go off on people.
Wow.
Brad Garrett was in Montreal hosting the show. And Brad Garrett was walking by. We're talking. I said, I'll bring you up. Right? So I'm standing up there. I go, and then Brad Garrett comes up and he picks me up and he turns me sideways. And this is the coveted Dom Irrera Award. And, he's just fucking screaming, this 9-foot Jew. I'm hanging for dear life.
He picked you up all the way off the ground?
Yeah, he's strong as a fucking, yeah.
Big guy.
He's a good guy.
Who did that? Dom Irrera, he lifted you off the ground?
No, he acted like he was an award.
Oh, I was an award.
He acted like he was an award.
You have to say it like that.
Dean Martin picked up Sammy Davis Jr. and put him on his shoulder. And he said, I want to thank the NAACP for this award. that was part of the act. When the Rat Pack all got together.
Yeah.
So Tom, is that how you got the the job of opening for Frank Sinatra? Was it because you built a resume, like from working with all these mainstream?
Yeah. By the time I got to Frank, I had done 30 something Tonight shows. I was doing a lot of opening for a lot of people, but I was appearing at Caesars in Lake Tahoe with Smokey Robinson, and Frank was appearing next door at Harris. And I had worked Harris many times with Sammy and anyhow. So and we were there 7 days. I wanted to go see Frank one of those nights, and I don't know what made me pick that night. It's how life is full of fate. But I figured I'll go on this Wednesday night. I came off stage that night I did my show. I didn't even change out of my stagecoach because I didn't want to miss Frank's opening. His daughter Nancy was opening for him at that time, so he hadn't been on yet. So I'm rushing over there because I'd seen Frank Sinatra twice perform. When he walked out to the microphone, he created more excitement walking to the microphone than most people do with their whole act. I mean, the excitement in that room when that man walked out on stage, oh my God, the energy in the room. So I didn't want to miss that. I'm running from Caesars, which is one casino over from Harris, and I'm running through the casino, and I'm running in the showroom, and the vice president of Harris Hotel, a man named Holmes Hendrickson, is standing with a big heavyset guy with a cigar. And I didn't know what it was, but I'm running in, and Holmes Hendrickson said, Tommy, he said, come here. And I reluctantly went over because I didn't want to miss the opening. Over, and he said, Tommy, this is Mickey Rudin. Well, I recognize that name. That was Frank Sinatra's lawyer and powerful guy in our business. He said, Mickey, this is Tom Dreesen, and I think Tom would make a great opening act for Frank Sinatra. And the lawyer went, like he had heard that a million times, to roll with his eyes. And he looked at the vice president and he winked. And I caught the wink, and he said to me, hey, kid, if I gave you a week with Frank, would you want more than $50,000? I said, Mr. Rudin, put it this way. If you gave me a week with Frank, would you want more than $50,000? He said, oh, I like this kid. They're laughing, And they gave me a week with Frank at the Atlantic City at the Golden Nugget.
Wow, just a referral.
Well, I figured that I'll work 1 week with him. I'll get my picture taken, hang it in every bar in Chicago. And
yeah,
cool.
You're good. Yeah, you're good.
The night I was there, he took me.
That's how I felt when I opened for Dom in Philly.
Oh yeah, same thing.
Same exact thing.
Except my third album, I wasn't crazy about.
Dom, was the same?
What's it?
Dom, did the same thing happen with you with Cher? Was it a referral?
No, no. I'll tell you, I don't want to mention the guy because I hate him, but he was trying to get that job, and it was up to him. And it was Cher's manager was gay, and this guy was really a good-looking guy, unlike me, a regular guy with a big fat head. And so yeah, I got the job. My manager said, "Well, let's see what you got here." He goes, "The guy's really obnoxious, bragging all the time." And he said to me, he said to my manager, who would you rather be in a bus with, Dom or this jerk off? And he said, "Got to take Dom." They're so long. I'm not saying yours was different, but these things are so long that you need somebody that's good, a good hangout, in the buses, because
someone that's fun to be along for the ride with, right?
Wow.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's tough to work with people that you don't like working with.
Wow. So you guys feel like that's a major part of it, the hang with these guys.
Everybody traveled differently. You might have gone on planes all the time, right?
Well, but Frank, we were on private jets all the time, but we hung. And the other thing too is, Frank, if you had to deliver, you had to get that crowd up. With Frank, it was 20,000 people in the arenas and 40,000 in Hawaii. That's right. I think I explained this guy before. If we go to the Laugh Factory tonight, Dom and I do if you do 25, 30 minutes of material, and you kill with it. And then you take that same exact material to an arena with 20,000 people, it takes on a whole different dynamic.
Right.
It's the same material, but now it's a bigger crowd and it's a larger crowd, and you're in the round. And I worked the Philadelphia Spectrum many times, but you're in the center and they're all around you. It's a totally different thing. So Frank wanted, obviously, to get the audience up, get them ready for him, and to keep coming up with new material. He wanted that too, because we went to the same cities every year.
Right.
And he liked to hang out till dawn. He never went to bed till the sun came up. So he hoped that you're one of those kind of guys that you like to hang. You know, and I do. I love to hang. After about 10 years of staying up to 6 in the morning, it was kind of wearing me out, you know, after a while, because that Frank never went to bed till the sun came up, ever, whether we're on the road or off the road. You know? So hanging it's interesting you say that. Hanging is a real important part of that, you know.
Was that the same thing with Cher, Dom? Did you guys hang out a lot after the show?
Well, she was much different than, you know. She had like so many things to do with her hair and all shit. It was always a big weight, so I got tired of that. And I hung out with her sometimes. She's very nice. I mean, she's funny and she's cool. You know, it's a very interesting, eclectic career. You know, she got both of them have Oscars, right? But she's got you see grandmother and transvestites. You know what I mean? Like it's not trick that crowd. You know what they're going to look like a little. You know?
Yeah. That's true.
Tom, when you say you have to deliver every night, I mean, there has to be once in a while where you go up there and you have an off. We're comics.
Have you seen me work? Have you?
I'm just saying, a stadium.
Tom.
Sometimes they're going to their seat. They're grabbing a soda.
I went in Calgary. The monitors all went off. So I looked at, they see me, you know, like this, you know, but the crowd was still good. But I didn't, I had one trouble. I said, this girl, she keeps screaming, Cher. And I finally go, listen, you stupid little bitch. She ain't coming out. She's putting her makeup on now. She's not even dressed yet. What do you think? She's standing behind this fucking curtain and I'm going to lift it up and she's going to sing for you? And I didn't get in trouble with sheriff's people. I got in trouble with people of Boynton, Ohio.
Dayton, Ohio.
Dayton.
But they followed me. They hated me so much they followed me to Cleveland. And then boo! I got booed and shit. She didn't care. She thought it was funny.
The owner of the theater said, "You called my daughter a stupid little bitch." You know, here's some tricks that I used to do. You're walking out. First of all, Steve, I think I told you this before. You'd say, "What's it like opening for Frank Sinatra?" I'd say, "Steve, here's what I want you to do. You know, you're 5 minutes before the show. There's 20,000 people out there, and this is what I want you to do. I want you to go out there and stand in the middle of the 20,000 people, and they're all around you. And I want you to hold their attention for the next 30 minutes. Oh, by the way, I want you to hold their attention, but I want you to make them laugh for the next 30 minutes. Oh, one more thing, Steve. I want you to hold their attention and make them laugh. I want you to make them laugh when you want them to laugh. I want you to pull the strings on the emotions of 20,000 people. No props, no tricks, no charts, no special arrangement, no special lighting, no orchestra. Just you and 20,000 people. And one more thing, Steve, not one of them came to see you. So that's your assignment every night. So what I would do whatever arena we're in, Nassau Coliseum or whatever Spectrum, I would walk out when they'd entered. First of all the lights would go down low in the arena, and people, ooh, and then the orchestra's in the pit, and you hear bum ba da dum bum. People, whoa, and now the comedy star rush, oh, you know,
Yeah.
and you're way up there. But what I would do, I'd get up there, and you never open with your A material. You never do your A material. That what I would do, you got to get their focus to you.
Mm-hmm.
They're around you. They're behind you. They're on your left, your right. That's not proscenium. They're not in front of you like Vegas. They're all around you. So you got to get the focus up here. So I would say, you know, first I'd say, how about a nice round of applause for the orchestra, ladies and gentlemen? Applaud. A nice round of applause. And they'd applaud. I'd say, how many of you out there are in this arena for your very first time? Applaud. Notice I didn't say raise your hand.
Mm-hmm.
I talk, you react. I said, how many out there in this arena for your very first time? I'm looking up, and they'd applaud. I'd say, how many of you out there are seeing Frank Sinatra live your very first time? Applaud, and they'd applaud. I'd say, how many of you out there aren't wearing any underwear? Applaud, or whatever I'd say. Applaud, right? I talk, you react. I'm bringing them here. I talk, you react. Then I'd always have a couple jokes about that local community. And I worked in Dayton that's like same place Don worked. But I'd always write a couple jokes about that area. And I'd say, you know, you're Mayor Oswald here, or whatever it was. And then I'd say, you know, and about those potholes that you guys are having problems. with on 7th Avenue, whatever it was that was in the news at that time.
Relatable, yeah.
Things. Now I'd have them, and then I went into my A material. But for you to go out and from Jump Street and go to A material, it's over. You know, you've got to bring
I started off with a Bible reading just to get them interested. Beget, that's how it's pronounced, sir. I was at the MGM. It's like dueling superstars. I was in at the Mirage, and it was really great. It was a great gig. The sports bar was right there. I'd hop over this. I could actually hop. It was like 2 minutes to 8 o'clock. Boom! I'm on stage, and I do it. And the arenas are different than Mirage. Don't you think the casinos are much easier to work? Obviously.
Oh, yeah.
And this was just, so I see her every night. So one night we're passing, she goes, "I can't believe you just did my grandmother listening to that jit over a joke thing." She goes, I said, and you showed your grandfather your ass. What about that? Yeah. So we're downstairs later at the party, and she's looking at me, and her grandmother comes over. She goes, "I love that thing about the jizz over the little wall." And Cher goes like this.
Go,
I can't believe you worked dirty in front of her and she didn't care.
Well, she was much different at a different time. I mean, Frank Sinatra's times they were too classy to curse like that. We don't care.
You know, one night I had a heckler at Caesars when I was working with Frank, but he wasn't a bad heckler. He was one of those guys that wanted a response. I was going back and forth. I always say qualify him. He would say something and I'd repeat it back through the microphone because the whole room.
Yeah, so everyone can hear. Yeah, I hate when comedians don't do that. It's the worst. You know,
you got to let them in on it. You let the audience in on it because now if it's 40 people and at the Improv one night, and if he hollers out something, they all heard it. You can nail him line and you got him. But if they haven't heard it, you can come up with the most clever line, and they'll think you're picking on the guy. So you repeat everything he says back through the microphone so you qualify him or her. If they're mean or if they are a heckler, or maybe they're just nice people that like you and they want to respond to something. So you always have to qualify them. But one night, I was giving this guy a lot of rope, and he was a nice guy. He wanted to tell me some stuff. So I let him go, and I let him go. And finally, he said something, and that I had set up what he was, and I said, "No shit." And when I did that, the whole audience roared because he said something that I'd been trying to make that point that he was that kind of guy. And I said, "No shit." Now later, Frank said to me, "Tommy, that was real funny, but you don't really need to swear to be funny." He didn't tell me not to do it. He said, "That's funny, but you don't really need to swear to be funny." And I said, "No shit, you know." But that's how it was in that day, you know. Frank off stage, he was one of the guys, but on stage, you know, he felt like you owed you. And again, when you're opening for Cher or you're opening for Frank Sinatra, it's their show, you know. I don't give a fuck how much television you did, how much, you know. If Barbara Streisand opened for Frank, she's an opening act. You know what I mean? So you owe them that.
So would they tell you both what you had to wear, like dress?
She never said a word to me. She asked me about comedy, never about my act, nothing. But she saw me on television. That helped a lot. And this other guy that I hate, he didn't work very hard.
But did they ever did they tell the talent how they had to dress, or it didn't work like that?
No, they probably that's the big part of her show. Rather, it's like all that shit is like now she's got a wig down to here, and she had a bus just for fucking wigs.
Nike was different. When I toured with Sammy Davis, I said, Sammy, when he wanted me to go in a row with him, I said, "How do you want me to dress?" He said, "I think you should dress at least as good as the people that came to see you." And I used that as a model the rest of my career. Now with Frank Sinatra, it's totally different. Tuxedo, period.
Yeah.
The only time we didn't wear a tux, if we wore a tux on every show, closing night in the casinos. When we work a week or two in the casinos, closing night, we wore suit and tie. But up to that point, every night in the casino, you wore a tuxedo. And here's why. I said to him one time, we were flying in the private jet, I said, how come we wear tuxedos? He said, "Tommy, if we were going to go do a show for the king and the queen, would we wear a tuxedo?" I said, "Well, yeah." He said, "Well, that guy in Detroit who's a garage mechanic, and his wife's a waitress, who work all year long to save enough money for 2 tickets for the show. They're just as much royalty as the king and the queen. And we do a command performance for them the same way we do it for the king and the queen. I said, okay, first of all, it's his show. You know what I mean? He's paying me. The casino wasn't paying me. Frank was paying me. So you're the boss,
But I'm like, when you show up at the store or the factory now, you don't wear a jacket, do you?
No. I just
jumpsuit. There's a jumpsuit, don't you?
I don't dress like a bum either. I mean, you can dress any way you want it, but I dress casual. But I always like Sammy's line. If you're going to do a gig, you say to the people, what kind of people be there? Is it a suit and tie affair? Is it, I think you should dress at least as good as the people who came to see you. I think if you're funny, all you have to, there's only one rule in comedy: be funny. But
Burt Kreischer don't even wear a shirt.
Yeah,
he's so fucking fat now. I can't eat in front of him.
It's a hook. That's what, in comedy, if you're lucky. Years ago, a comedian named Jack Benny, who I really admired, he said, if you're lucky, you find a hook. He found the hook about being cheap. His writers found it many years ago, and it worked. And so it became a gag throughout his whole career. Rodney Dangerfield, I get no respect.
Didn't Stephen Wright have the hair? Or no? Am I thinking somebody else had the big hair?
Stephen Wright didn't need the hair. He had a clever, he had a clever
cadence.
But also his material was, the poor soul. Now, I got to tell you, Stephen Wright's a very funny guy, and on the Tonight Show, like Rodney, 6 minutes of Rodney, he'd kill you. But an hour in Vegas, you do 20 minutes. If I get no respect, the audience starts getting the joke. So Rodney would have a shill or two in the audience, maitre d' or somebody. Rodney, when's your next movie? And then he'd go to some other stuff, because you can't do 1 hour of the same material, and that's what Stephen Wright. After 1 hour of it, sometimes in a whole monologue in an hour, you got to have some different colors in there. You got to have. I
still can't believe you wrote that many. That's fucking incredible.
31, you said, right?
61.
60.
Right?
Yeah, I did 50 on Letterman, but Letterman never wanted me to do stand-up. He always wanted me to sit down and tell stories. He didn't want me to do stand-up. When I hosted the shows after him, of course, I'd do a monologue then, when I host the talk show. But David always wanted the storytelling part.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to wrap it up now. Dom, you got any gigs coming up you wanted to plug real quick?
Hey, that's my business.
You're going to Montreal, aren't you?
I'm going to Montreal to say goodbye to that city I love. See little Sophie there. Remember Sophie, how hot she was, Tom?
Yeah.
Tom, you got any shows coming up?
Well, I'm going to go to dinner with Dom one night here. We went.
I owe him dinner. I forgot to say it. This is on your heart. I swear to God, it's like I got to get him a dinner. It's been long enough because I haven't been going there. But I'm going. But the law. You know what? I just give you the money. And you get what you want. So we don't have to talk. I can't talk to you anymore. We talked an hour, for Christ's sake.
I'm going to go to Richmond, Virginia next month. On July 15th, I'm doing my one-man show at a place called the Hughes Theater in Richmond, Virginia. I got a 90-minute show I do called The Man Who Made Sinatra Laugh. It's stand-up.
Oh, good.
Yeah, you did it. You did it at Ocean Casino in AC, right?
Yeah. Well, no, I didn't get. Yeah, I did do it. I did. But when I do the 90-minute show, at that casino, I was only on 45 minutes, but because of the other singer. But now I do it alone. I've been doing it alone for years. But it's stand-up comedy. But I segue to a bar and I start telling stories, and pictures come on the screen authenticating the stories, and video of Frank and I and stuff. So it's a lot of fun. And then I'm doing in Chicago. I'm going in September. I'll be there for 3 weeks and doing my one-man show and enjoying the hell out of it. And playing some golf. And what else am I doing? They got a documentary coming out about my life from my book. I wrote a book called Still Standing, My Journey from Streets and Saloons to the Stage.
Congratulations. Awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Where can they find that?
Go on Amazon, and it's got 455 star reviews. I'm bragging. I know. I'm sorry, but I'm real proud of that book.
That's great, man.
took me years to write that book, and it's got great reviews. And yeah, there it is.
There it is. Who's that guy? Looking sharp, cuz.
Yeah, that's
nice.
That tuxedo. Yeah. Jeez, you know.
Did you ever sing with Sinatra?
No, you know what? Never. But you know what? But because he didn't. Let me tell you. You got to watch my face. I'm in the dressing room next to him one night, and I'm just waiting to get on. You know, it's 10 minutes before the show, and I'm walking around and I'm singing, "You will be my music, you will be my song." The door opens up, and Frank stuck his head in. He just went like, he walked out. He didn't say one word, but he said 50 words. He just stuck his head in there and looked at me.
Tom, thank you again, Tom. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. Appreciate it, man.
You know, thank you, Brian. Good to see you again, Steve and Dom. You know, I love you, buddy.
Right back at you. Keep up the good work, man.
Okay, guys, I'll talk to you soon.
Take care, Dom.
So he was much nicer than you thought, huh? No, thanks, Tom.
You're welcome. Wait, till I get off, and then you can talk about me, Dom. Let me get out of here.
I'm not that kind of petty.
Yo, Dom, over here. Hey, Dom, hey.
Yo,